unraveling of his own moral compass. It's a performance that carries the weight of the film, and Fishburne's ability to convey so much with so little dialogue is something to behold. It's no surprise that he was recognized for his work in this film, with the role cementing his place as one of the greats in Hollywood. Opposite him, you have Jeff Goldblum, who plays the role of Michael Tarlow, a corrupt businessman with ties to the drug trade. Goldblum's performance here is unlike anything you've seen from him before. We're so used to seeing him in quirky, comedic roles, but in Deep Cover, he completely transforms into a character that is as morally ambiguous as Fishburne's. His Tarlow is slick, calculating, and manipulative, but there's a vulnerability to him as well, and Goldblum brings that complexity to the forefront. The dynamic between him and Fishburne creates a tension that drives the entire movie. It's a classic example of two brilliant actors playing off of each other, and elevates the film to another level. Then there's a budget, a modest $6 million for a film that could easily have been mistaken for something with a much higher price tag. It was a film that wasn't necessarily about big explosions or lavish set pieces. It was about telling a story, one that didn't require fancy visuals to keep the audience on the edge of their seat. Deep Cover didn't break box office records, but it found a strong cult following, especially in the years after its release. The film grossed a modest $20 million, which, for a crime drama with a relatively low budget, is a decent return. But it's not about the numbers with this film. What really matters is the impact it had on the genre and on Hollywood. Deep Cover brought a level of complexity and character depth to crime films that hadn't been seen much before, and it laid the groundwork for later films like American Gangster and Training Day, which would push similar themes further into the mainstream. When you look behind the scenes, there's even more to appreciate. The screenplay, written by Michael Tolkien, is sharp and layered, filled with moments that force you to rethink what's happening on the screen. The dialogue crackles with tension, and every interaction between characters feels like it has deeper meaning. It's not just about solving a case or catching a criminal. It's about the consequences of living in a world where the lines between law enforcement and criminal activity are so thin they might as well be invisible. The cinematography by Boyan Bazelli is another highlight of the film. Bazelli, known for his work on The Ring and The General's Daughter, brings a unique visual style to Deep Cover, using light and shadow to create a sense of paranoia and dread. There's a cool, almost attached feel to the way the film is shot, which heightens the emotional distance that the main characters feel from the world around them. The camera often lingers on Fishburne's face, capturing the subtle shifts in his expression as he navigates the increasingly dangerous world he's entered. The visual style, combined with the gritty soundtrack, composed by Stanley Clarke, creates an atmosphere that feels both hypnotic and suffocating. The music, with its deep bass lines and haunting melodies, lingers in the background, amplifying the tension and giving the film a sense of urgency that matches the intensity of the story. But what truly makes Deep Cover stand out is its exploration of identity. It's a theme that resonates throughout the film. Russell Stevens, played by Fishburne, isn't just battling the drug lords and criminals of the world. He's battling himself. He's torn between his duty as a cop and the life he's living undercover, a life that's gradually consuming him. It's a struggle that's deeply relatable. We all have moments in our lives when we find ourselves questioning who we are, where we belong, and what we stand for. Deep Cover takes that internal conflict and plays it out on a grand scale, making it impossible for the viewer not to feel invested in Stephen's journey. And let's talk about the ending. Without giving too much away, the conclusion of Deep Cover is a gut punch. It's a payoff that feels earned, and it leaves you thinking long after the film ends. There's a sense of inevitability to it, as if no matter how hard Stevens tried to change, he was always doomed to face the consequences of his actions. It's the kind of ending that's both heartbreaking and poetic, and it's one that elevates the film from a typical crime thriller to something far more meaningful. So, why should you watch Deep Cover? Because it's a film that challenges you. It's a film that forces you to reckon with complexities of human nature, with the decisions we make and the consequences that follow. It's a film that, while grounded in the world of crime and corruption, speaks to something much larger, the struggle for identity, for belonging, and for redemption. It's a film that's as much about the soul as it is about the action. And with its unforgettable performances, its sharp script, and its haunting cinematography, it's a film that has earned its place as a modern classic. So, if you haven't seen it yet, do yourself a favor and experience Deep Cover. It's not just a movie, it's an experience. Hey everyone, gather in close for a minute. I've got a story you won't want to miss about there's a movie that truly demands to be seen, not just for its daring take on crime and identity, but for its sheer cultural impact. I'm talking about Deep Cover, a film that, on the surface, might seem like another gritty crime thriller, but when you look closer, is so much more. This film doesn't just tell a story. It takes you into a world that forces you to confront the moral complexities of life, the price of ambition, and the blurred lines between right and wrong. It's a film that pulls you in with its intense storytelling, its unforgettable characters, and a visual style that is just as raw and gripping as the plot itself. The man behind the cinematic gem is Bill Duke, a director whose career spans decades and whose films often delve into themes of power, corruption, and the human condition. But with Deep Cover, he created something truly unique. He took a genre that was already well established, crime thrillers, and turned it on its head. The film was released in 1992, during an era where crime thrillers were flourishing in Hollywood, but this one had a different kind of edge. It wasn't just a tale of good versus evil, but meditation on what happens when good people find themselves in positions where they are forced to make difficult choices. And the way Duke tells his story, through powerful performances, a chilling soundtrack, and a haunting atmosphere, makes it an experience that lingers long after the credits roll. At the heart of Deep Cover is Lawrence Fishburne, a powerhouse of performer who brings a raw intensity to his role as Russell Stevens Jr., an undercover cop whose descent into the world of drugs and crime leads him to question everything he once believed. Fishburne was, and still is, one of the most captivating actors of his generation, and his portrayal of Stevens is nothing short of mesmerizing. You can see the internal struggle on his face, the weight of his choices, the toll of his secrets, the slow unraveling of his own moral compass. It's a performance that carries the weight of the film, and Fishburne's ability to convey so much with so little dialogue is something to behold. It's no surprise that he was recognized for his work in this film, with the role cementing his place as one of the greats in Hollywood. Opposite him, you have Jeff Goldblum, who plays the role of Michael Tarlow, a corrupt businessman with ties to the drug trade. Goldblum's performance here is unlike anything you've seen from him before. We're so used to seeing him in quirky, comedic roles, but in Deep Cover, he completely transforms into a character that is as morally ambiguous as Fishburne's. His Tarlow is slick, calculating, and manipulative, but there's a vulnerability to him as well, and Goldblum brings that complexity to the forefront. The dynamic between him and Fishburne creates a tension that drives the entire movie. It's a classic example of two brilliant actors playing off of each other, and elevates the film to another level. Then there's a budget, a modest